get on here and go over our reactions to what happened on the last three episodes, where we see the games going. Brett and I are going to go over our keys for each team to see what they feel we need them to do to win the game. So, Brent, Thor, what was your thoughts on the episodes? Let's start with Titans Miners.
Thor, you're muted.
I thought it was a pretty solid episode. Um, I just want to remember that was our second one back or our first one back?
First one.
First one back. So, I feel like the first one we were just a little bit rusty. It didn't flow quite as well as I was hoping it would, but subject matter was great. I think adding Danny onto the crew for the podcast has helped, especially with our intros and outros and whatnot. Uh, but I feel like it was a good stepping stone to step and try to rebuild what we're doing with the podcast and get it back to active. What do you think, Brett?
I wasn't on that episode. Pretty much what I think.
All right, so my mic really wasn't working too well for that one, but
Shocker.
yeah, I thought the episode was actually pretty good. I thought the Miners out of the two teams were probably the hungrier out of both of them. The Titans acted like every other new team that was going to come in this league and shock the world, and the Miners like, we're not trying to shock anybody, we're just trying to win a game. So it's definitely different to see between the 2 points of everything. So, like I said, it's always a wait and see. I think the Titans are going to be looking like the rustier team because they've never done 8-man before. They're going to have to adapt to it. This is going to be their first time actually doing it as a team. I think with their roster, they only have one team that is actually played GEFA, and that's Mika McConnell. But like watching it from the Miners' perspective, I watched their scrimmage with the Comanche. I watched their scrimmage with the Crusaders, and they don't look like the same team from last year. So with everything like that, that's a big plus there. It's growth.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I did get a couple looks at the Miners this offseason because we got together and did some flag football and some 7-on-7 work, a couple of things. Got a couple of teams to come down. And I mean, right out of the gate, I mean, the season had only ended for like a month, and you could tell that they had already started to try to improve the roster and bring in new blood. So I am expecting a lot bigger things out of the Miners this year than we've seen. You're 100% right. I mean, the mindset seemed different between the two teams. Um, Jace was on for the Miners, and he's really a down to earth, type of guy, and he really is serious when he takes a game at a time. So I do think that they're eager. I do think that they made a lot of improvements. We'll see here soon if they made them in the right places or not. But as far as the Titans go, I mean, they're excited to come in, and it seems like behind the scenes they've got some decent energy and excitement on their end about this upcoming season. But Brent and James, you know as well as I do how things typically go for a first year team. So I'm excited for tomorrow.
Baptism Saturday.
Here we are again. But like even like with the when the Titans were talking in that, it's like they didn't seem like they were really much worried about stuff like that, like adapting to the rules and that. Like that always seems to be one of the biggest new teams' mistakes going in there when they were just like, oh, we just do what we do. Like, no, this is different. Like, it's not the same, fam. Like, you got to change it up, and the rules are a lot different. We talk about it being modified 11 man, but it's you still could tell the difference on it.
I mean, I think the biggest thing to get used to in your first year is just game speed in general. And the fact is, like, you're just playing on a much smaller field. So, if like being an 11 man team, you got a lot more space to work with, a lot of different play calls and stuff you can do that you can't do in 8 man because everything's a lot faster. You just don't have a lot of time.
Now, Brent, if you were the Miners, what do you think their keys to winning would be?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think line. Line is always big. Last year their offensive line was not real good. And, most of the time their quarterback was running for his life. So, they got to shape up their line this year, man. I think their O line in particular, their D line wasn't too bad, but their O line was pretty rough. So I think that's first and foremost. They need to have like some kind of structured offense. Like last year, they just didn't really seem like they had like a real solid offensive game plan, like what they wanted to do. It was kind of like all over the place. Um, so hopefully this year they can kind of, establish some structure, establish some plays that, you can go to. Like you need some plays that you can just be able to trust and that you can go to pick up, first downs, touchdowns, whatever. So they need that. And I mean, turnovers, man. Turnovers are a key in any game. Obviously, you always want to win the turnover battle. It betters your chances of winning the game. Their second year in the league. I expect them to have a better understanding of what they're going to face on a Saturday and just, play better football all around. So, if they can control the turnovers, not be giving shit away, and, get some turnovers on defense, I think they got a real good chance to, hand the Titans their ass.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard for the first couple quarters for the Titans. I think it's going to be a rude awakening for them, especially when they're trying to adapt to especially the speed of the game. I know when I first started learning the 8 man game, not having an extra tackle on that was different. That was eye opening to me. So you got to realize like those little outplays and all that stuff that normally work pretty well in 11 man, they're not going to be there in 8 man because the field's not as wide. So I think a big part of it is how they adapt to it, what their attitudes are going to be, because they're not just going to come down there and just light up the field and then go home. They're going to face adversity. I think one of their biggest thing is going to be how they handle that. And if their O line isn't helping them, I think it might be a long day for them. But if they
Yeah, I
could
mean,
control the line of scrimmage on both sides, give their DB some help, I think this is going to be a pretty good game. It just seeing how a new team is going against a newer team in the Titans. Because let's be honest, Miners are still new. They could say, yeah, we've been in here a
oh
year.
yeah,
You're still new.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're still adapting.
And looking at the rosters from the minors last year, and again getting some looks at them in some offseason stuff, I have to believe that both quarterbacks that come out and start this game are potentially rookies. Both. So you're right. The trenches battle absolutely matters. I mean, being a rookie quarterback in this league in a tough showcase game is tough enough as it is, but if everybody's in your face nonstop, it's just not going to work out for you. So, got to win in the trenches.
It's not that the Titans can't come out and like light it up and like shock the shit out of everybody that they're like really good, but it's just unlikely. I mean, we've all been around this a long time. I can't remember too many teams that have come in this league and shocked the shit out of somebody. So, but I mean, it's not saying that they can't. We always say it all the time. Any given Saturday, anything can happen. We've seen some crazy shit over the years. We've seen the powerhouses go on the road and lose games they shouldn't.
Yeah,
it's just
everybody's got a puncher's chance in this. That's why we play the game, and it's
and especially like you said, because the Miners are still a new team. Like they're going into the first game of their second season, so they had a lot of like eye-opening shit happen last year that hopefully gives them a better chance moving forward this season, and hopefully they learn from all that stuff and they put it to good use and come out and show everybody what's up week 0.
All right, now going into all this stuff, I just want to go over some more that's going to be at the Classic. We are going to have 3 food trucks, D's Tacos, Shane Sandwich Shack, and the Munchies. So when you get there, have some food, have some fun, just take it all in, that everything that GEFA is. Between those games, let me get to the halftime first. We're going to be talking to all the nominees. Thor is going to be announcing the names, what they've done for, I don't even know how many nominees offhand do you think there are, Thor? Like 20?
I don't have the list, but if I had to guess, I would have said 16. So right
16.
in that.
I mean, granted, not all of them are going to show up. I mean, they are calling for rain until about 3:30, 4 o'clock. Depending on what weather service you're looking at, I've seen anywhere from rain stopping at 4, rain's not stopping at all, rain stopping at 3:30, rain stopping at 2, rain stopping at 11, and no rain at all. So God only knows if we'll have rain or how long we'll have rain tomorrow. But we will be talking with the nominees. I mean, just to be a nominee, like we talked to DJ in that, and that's a big deal to be part of a league and being nominated for their Hall of Fame. Like, I mean, everybody can play the game, but only the lucky ones that put in the work and are successful get a chance to be put in the Hall of Fame. So kudos to everybody that was nominated for the Hall of Fame. We haven't really done it too much in a long time with COVID and then everything else that's been going on. So to bring back the Hall of Fame this year, that's a big deal to me. Now, after the Titans Miners game, we're going to be having the Easter egg hunt. Aaron Stoner is going to be bringing all the eggs. I think he has like 800 and some eggs, all donated from various businesses and all that stuff. So it's trying to do something different for the kids. And it's something we've never done as a league. I know some teams have done it in the past, but it's not something we've done as a league. And I just hope a lot of kids show up for it and they don't get discouraged by the rain.
Should be a good time.
All right, so let's get into the second game. Buffaloes at Raptors. Now, this one was an interesting one last year. Everybody picked the Raptors to pretty much blow out the Buffaloes last year. The Berks County Raptors, not the Reading Raptors, the Berks County Raptors kind of have like that mystique to them. And everybody thinks that the Berks County Raptors are the same team as the Reading Raptors. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. The game last year wasn't really close. The Raptors pretty much got dog walked. So what did you guys take from the Buffaloes going into that?
They've looked, talked, and the episode felt like they were supremely confident about what their season is going to be. You know what I mean? They have high expectations. They were right there last year. A couple things could have went their way in the playoffs. Could have been a different story. It didn't. But I mean, they've been a solid team. I wouldn't expect them to be anywhere else but competing for a Mountain Conference championship, or I don't know what it is anymore, even if you guys are doing that now. But I would expect them to be there in the playoffs competing for a championship. Like they seem confident about what they're about.
Yeah, and for me, like the Raptors have done a lot of changes this year. They're not doing kind of like the same stuff they did last year. They really look like they're improving. They're bringing players in, and those players that he's bringing in, they're buying into the system now. And that's how the Raptors used to build their teams up, with players not from other teams, but players that believed in what they were doing and wanted to build with them. They brought players like Brooklyn Wells back, Frankie, who went out with an injury. He's going to be helping them out on the sideline. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on with that. Brent, for you, what do you think the Raptors are going to have to do to win?
Whew, man, that's a loaded question. First and foremost, they're going to have to play better defense. Their defense last year wasn't real good. Their D line was pretty decent. They had some guys up front that could put some pressure on, but they really need to work on their defense. Their defense needs to come ready to play. In particular, their secondary. I'd say better quarterback play, but that also kind of goes hand in hand with better O-line play. You know what I mean? I think if you're keeping pressure off the quarterback and you're kind of allowing your offense to run like it's supposed to run, I think you get better quarterback play. They have playmakers on that team. Like we saw them last year. They have a couple studs out there. And, this sounds like they got a couple studs during off season too. So, they definitely need better O-line and quarterback play. And, just kind of limit the turnovers. I think last year they had a bunch of turnovers too. So, just kind of limit the turnovers. Give yourselves a fighting chance. Don't keep shooting yourselves in the foot, especially when you're in tight games. Because if I remember, they were in a tight game against the Mustangs. And I do believe a turnover resulted in them losing the game. So,
At the end.
just limit the mistakes. I know they talked about, making a bunch of changes this offseason, kind of having, this is what their third year, I think, going into their third year. Am I
Raptors?
right?
2.
Yeah. Second year.
Yeah. Since they came back, it's the second year.
Yeah. Third year overall, second year
Right.
since he came back from. Yeah, all right. And so, just better understanding, from their coaches to their players about, just what what they need to do as a team and bring it, you know.
Yeah, for me, I think a big part of it is for the Buffaloes. We see the type of offense they have. It's explosive, but it's when they're ahead, the offense looks amazing. But if they fall behind, that type of offense isn't really there to get them back in the game. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Buffaloes if they go down early. And I'm not talking 6 points, 7 points, whatever. I'm talking like all of a sudden, like you're playing the Cyclones and you're down by 20 and have no idea what just happened. Like that's a scramble mode right there. And it's going to be interesting to see if that does happen with the Buffaloes. Like we saw videos earlier today from the Buffaloes, and it was, I guess, one of their practices that they look good. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, they don't really have receivers. They have running backs, lots of them. And their running backs are their receivers. So to see what Levi can do, I mean, if he opens it up, that's going to throw the Raptors right on their heels early. Because nobody's going to be expecting the Buffaloes to come out slinging the ball early.
Yeah, but if I was them, I still wouldn't get outside what they're known to do, because I mean we've seen it years past. Like not too many teams have been able to stop it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I know you want to adapt and open up the playbook and develop the passing game side of the offense. I mean, they did have plays that they ran passing game wise last year that worked pretty regularly. Like that tight end that they slipped over the middle of the field, man, that thing worked all the time. You know what I mean? I don't think they have to do a whole lot more. I just think they have to be more consistent.
Right.
I think their hurt piece is more on the defensive side of the ball. Like they seem to struggle in the secondary a lot. And like you said, like they can't really get them stops when when they are behind and you need to bow up, you need to get a stop or two. You know what I mean? They can't really get it done. So I think more of the important part for them is to just have better defensive play. You know what I mean? Maybe be a little bit more aggressive, try to create some turnovers, not just sit back and get torched all over the place and then expect your run power heavy offense to try to bring you back in the game, which they have before, but it's not a likely scenario to be in. So, play better defense,
Yeah,
develop the passing game.
gap integrity is going to be huge for the Raptors in this game. Just the Buffalo style. I mean, again, when we had them on the show, they expressed that they had worked more at being able to make themselves more of than just a one-dimensional team. That tight end that they have is amazing, and their ability to play action and hit that tight end is tough. So I don't know. I agree with you. The Raptors defense definitely has a tough day up for it tomorrow. They did add some pieces, though. There were definitely some impressive pieces off the Raptors. They added this defensive lineman. I wish I had his name. But man, the guy is strong as a bull. He's fast. He's aggressive. He's intelligent. They added a couple of pieces in their secondary, if I'm not mistaken, that should help them out. So it'll be interesting to see. But the flip side of that is, did the Buffaloes add some pieces to stop the explosive ability of the Raptors offense. The Raptors still have that. I don't want to say his name wrong. Marcus Perez, I believe, number 14. He's like a multi-tool receiver that comes up with big plays when you need it. So I'm excited. Tires.
Or Frankie said his name is Kyle. That player
Kyle,
from the Raptors you're talking
the
about.
Defensive line. I think he wears like number 58, but he's intelligent. He's definitely going to be putting himself on the map. I'm excited to see him play on Saturday.
Now the halftime for that one is going to be ring ceremony, celebration of the Cyclones. I mean, let's talk a little bit about the Cyclones. Thor, you're going to be doing your little speech about it, but let's be honest here. The Cyclones changed the way the GEFA was. Yeah, film was big and all that stuff, but let's not act like people didn't watch the Cyclones film to try to beat them. And they changed rosters and everything else in this league to try to beat the Cyclones. I don't think any team is ever going to win 7 championships in this league other than the Cyclones. I mean, unless more teams fall off and join the Vikings, but other than that, I don't think anything else is.
Oh, I love
it. But let's be honest, though. Like, it's the Cyclones put out the blueprint of how to face adversity early, take your beatings, take your baptisms, say a couple Hail Marys, and then turn things around and be the greatest franchise in league history. And for them not to be in this league anymore sucks. It honestly does. But you want to see those teams want to say, oh, I want to beat the Cyclones. I want to do this. I want to do that. And like, I remember a couple of years ago, one of the teams every year, the Cyclones would put that stupid C logo on all their players' things. It would put up the Cyclone logo. And then I think it was 2019, maybe 2020. Like another team was doing all their logo like exactly like the Cyclones. And like you're not going to see that. It kind of sucks, honestly, because you want to see even when I coached, like you wanted to see where you were at. You wanted to go against the Cyclones and try to beat them. But it's just, I don't know. But Thor, like I said, he's going to be doing celebration of the Cyclone speech. And it's something that we've never done before. We've never brought a team that won the Keystone Bowl and celebrated them. We've never put them in the spotlight and gave them their flowers, even though they won the league. I mean, Thor, we barely did a podcast episode when you guys won it.
I noticed.
Matt Brazil says Vikings take over. Who rose it? Thor, what is your takeaway from it?
I mean, it's one of those where, again, I get the owner perspective and why the Cyclones aren't playing as an organization anymore. Sometimes it's just time, but the time they were here was great. I mean, my whole time in the GEFA. They've been around. You're coming in and you're trying to engage in the league and invest yourself in the league, and you got guys like Greg Medina and Nyhart and Brooks and just guys from the Cyclones that were easygoing and welcoming. Definitely not Matt Tavares at first. He was not welcoming and nice in the beginning. But there was a lot of guys in that organization that, were like, hey, if you ever have a question or you ever need anything, not only to myself, but the players that we had on the team. And we always had a good standing with them. Never really many issues with, any kind of behavior. They always not only showed up in numbers for games, but dominated games for years. And I'm glad that that's part of the GEFA I got to be part of.
I mean, now that you put it that way, Thor, I take everything back I said, because I'd probably have a Keystone Bowl if it wasn't for a Cyclone. So never mind what the hell I said.
Me too.
I'm just saying, it was a pleasure shitting on you guys for years. You two in particular.
Yo, James, a whole lot more than me. Don't play.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Nah, it's been fun, man.
No, I mean, you got a guy like Brent at, the head of the organization, solid coach, involved in all the different committees behind the scenes to help keep the league going, served as the vice president for years. I mean, hell, the guy retired and he's still here trying to do something. So
hey, whatever I can.
They had a lot, and there was other guys involved too. I don't want to say names wrong. James Myers, his brother.
Yeah,
they were guys in the early years that really helped keep the organization going.
Matt Brazil.
There was another guy that works for the borough there in Mount Joy. Josh Deering. So you guys just had a lot of people there to help build things up and set a great foundation for what ended up being the streak for the most successful team we've ever seen.
I mean, we talk about it all the time, man. You need good leadership on teams. I think, our first couple of years. We don't
talk about it all the time. You talk about it all the time. We started from 1-9, 3 years in a row.
I wasn't even going to talk about that. You're the one bringing it up. You want to get it off your chest, James? I was saying, you need good leadership in this team. You need people who care about what's going on. Like, if you're just going to go through the motions and fucking give a half-assed effort, well, you're going to have a half-assed team. That's the one thing that I definitely take pride in is those guys, they were willing to go to the ends of the fucking earth to be the best team in the league. They didn't give a shit. Like, you don't get that from dudes playing semi-pro football. Like, but that's how those guys were. And that all stemmed from leadership. That had nothing to do with me. That had everything to do with the guys who were strapping on helmets and shoulder pads every Saturday and going to war. I'm just a guy who gets to stand there and, be a recipient of their work that they put in. Like, those guys busted their ass, man. They wanted it more than anything. And then once it started rolling, they didn't want to stop. You know what I mean? It was like, well, how far can we keep this thing going? Little did we know it would be, a decade plus of shitting on everybody. But, it's been fun. It's going to be wild to see them all playing on different teams this year. I know that.
And that is one of the things.
Kind of sad.
You had a lot of great players on that team, and yeah, people are going to be like, oh, of course you're excited about it because some of them went to you. But at the end of the day, as just a league fan, I didn't really want to see that 40-man roster just walk away and not be part of the league at all. Because there's a lot of guys on your program that obviously still had some football in them. And I think there's like 5 or 6 different teams in the league that picked somebody up from the Cyclones.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're pretty spread out throughout the league this year. So it's going to be awesome to see. I know there's been shit talk going back and forth amongst them, so it ought to be pretty special to watch.
All right, so let's get into our third and final game. Wildcats, Warriors. Like I said before on last episode, their season game last year, that was a hell of a game. Should the Warriors won that game? Probably not. But they did. And that was when we had all the questions. Oh, the Wildcats this, the Wildcats that. And they proved exactly what they thought they were. So going into this one, great choice for main event with the Classic. That's going to be a barn burner. Punches thrown all game, not literally, but Brent, what do you think the Wildcats got to do to win the game?
Show up? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to Wilkes-Barre like that. No, I mean, hey, if you look at their roster, they're loaded, man. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So, I think first and foremost, they got to be able to put it together. Like they have all the pieces, but can they put it together? And I think, I talked about this during their episode with them. Like what happens, when those emotions start to get high. You know what I mean? Are you guys going to be able to collect yourselves and play football? Or are you going to let it fucking melt you down like it normally happens? And just, probably play mistake free. I mean, if you look back at the championship game, and JR touched on this when we were talking to them, they had like 10 turnovers. I mean, I don't give a shit what game you're playing. You're not winning when you turn the ball over 10 times. So, protect the ball and, go out there and handle business. Like, I mean, I think if you're going by just what you see on paper, like they have the upper hand, but they still have to put it on the field. I think that's kind of the one edge that Wilkes-Barre has in this game. Like a lot of the guys that they have on their team have been there for a while. You know what I mean? They got that good core. And, Williamsport has a few guys that have been there for a while too. So it should be a pretty solid game. It's definitely a great matchup for for the finale, I guess.
Yeah, the thing about that, the Warriors always find a way to bring in new talent. I don't know how they do it, but they always find a way. They don't really get many players from other teams, but they do get like that homegrown college talent, King's University, Misericordia, Wilkes, and they bring in ballers. And I feel like the Warriors last season were probably one of the biggest what ifs. Meaning if they didn't give up on themselves, would they have actually still been in that game with the Comanche, and would they have done something if they won that game? I mean, the Cyclones Warriors game earlier that year was a pretty good game. So it would have been interesting to see how the Warriors got back into that game. And we all saw what the Wildcats did. They benefited from the whole Savages debacle, and they turned it into something spectacular and made a run. They got hot right at the right time.
Very true. Sometimes that's all it takes. You know what I mean? Like Wilkes-Barre's been a solid team for the last 4 or 5 years, like I said during their episode. I don't expect them to come out and not be prepared and ready to go for this game. They have a solid quarterback. Their O line plays pretty decently. You know what I mean? Like their defense plays pretty decent. They force turnovers. You know what I mean? They make big plays on offense. When shit breaks down, they seem to make shit happen. Like they're a solid squad. Like it's not going to be an easy game for either side. Like you're going to have to bring your A game right out of the gate, or you might be walking out with an L.
Thor, just off of your thoughts, if one of those team takes an L, can they bounce back from that?
So here's where I think things get a little bit touchy. I mean, in years past, the Wildcats right off the bat, we would have talked about collapsing. But I mean, when you see the roster they have, there's a lot of veterans and vets that have been in losses and big game situations. And they've added some more help to the coaching staff that also adds quite a bit of experience. So the issue is with the Warriors is Ant's by himself. You know, Gary's a second-year quarterback. They do have some pieces that have been there for a while. Joe's been there and tries to hold things together. And it's really going to depend on that leadership for the Warriors, that player leadership, as to how things really go from that point. I feel both of them have the ability, but I feel like the Wildcats are in a better situation to bounce back if things don't go well than the Warriors probably are at this point.
I mean, I know Ant's by himself, but it's not like, Williamsport has like a proven coaching staff. Like they made some changes in the offseason as well. You know what I mean? So, I think they're kind of in the same boat. While Ant doesn't have like all the the coaching staff to back him up because he is by himself. The Wildcats staff's also kind of unproven. I mean, outside of Aaron, I don't really. I don't think Doug is back with them this year.
I heard that. I believe they had it.
Yeah, I'm not sure Begley's there. And I've heard that they've added Kerr, but nothing concrete on that. So, kind of all speculation until proven otherwise. So realistically, they have more of a staff than Wilkes-Barre, but at the same time, like how proven is their staff in all reality? So, I think both staffs have actually a lot to prove on Saturday. You know what I mean? A lot to prove to themselves, a lot to prove to their players that, hey, I can handle this job and we can do the things that we want to do. So, that's kind of like that's kind of like another one of those underlying factors in this game. Whose coaching staff's going to deliver, the right calls or the right adjustments when the game's on the line? Because judging by the way the game went last year, this game's going to be back and forth. So, it's probably going to come down to that final drive or that final possession. Who's gonna be able to make the adjustments to win the game?
Plus, who had the better offseason? I mean, let's be real. Matters. If one team had a much better offseason than the other in a kickoff Classic game, it's typically going to show.
Yeah, and
but here's the thing with that: like you could put all these signings on the post and all that stuff. That doesn't mean you had a better offseason. It just means you brought more people in. So you can't really judge that by going off of what the Warriors didn't post.
Yeah, I agree. You just can't judge something that hasn't been put on the field yet. Yeah, looking at their roster, like up and down, they got perennial all-stars that have been in the GEFA for, ever, or some guys that were when they were here and left for a year or two or whatever and came back. Like, yeah, up and down that roster, they're stacked with talent and all stars from this league, guys that have won Keystone Bowls. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, absolutely. But they all also played from different teams. You have some guys that played for Williamsport. You have some guys that played from the Cyclones. You have some guys that played from the Hitmen. You know what I mean? All converging in one team that have all been coached differently through their whole, careers. Now all trying to put it together with a coaching staff that coaches completely different than what they're used to. So while they did recruit their ass off this offseason and stack a pretty formidable roster, they still have to be able to go out there and produce when it's on the line. I mean, I think that Wilkes-Barre's a little bit tighter of a team when it comes to that aspect because a lot of their guys have been on their team and are, local. So, like, it's a little bit tighter knit of a group. I mean, there's a ton of things in this matchup that could change the outcome of this game. It's a pretty snazzy scheduling job there, Thor.
Jesus Christ.
I love it.
There was not one person in there that was like, screw the Warriors. They're getting this. Everybody plays everybody. It just happened.
No, I think it's a great game. Like, honestly, like, the last couple of years in the Classic, man, we've not had some great competition games.
And
they've been blowouts. So I think if you guys got it right for 1 year for the scheduling committee, you got it right this time around. Like, you put two newer teams together. You didn't put them up against perennial powerhouses to get the shit stomped out of them. You know what I mean? You put playoff teams against each other, and couldn't ask for better matchups for this one.
I agree. I mean,
obviously.
Honestly, it just sucks that it's gonna fucking rain. But what would you expect for a GEFA kickoff?
Not to rain like the other five.
I think every year in the damn first week of the season, it usually has bad weather.
Yeah, that's usually after the Classic, though.
Yeah, I think Classic weather was good last year.
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with, like you said, we finally got the schedule right for the Classic. I've always said I wanted games with a storyline to them. It's make people want to go to it and want to see it. A lot of people are going to want to see Buffaloes, Raptors. A lot of people are going to see Wildcats, Warriors. That's good. That's what you want to do for it. So we, as a league, we just got to build up on that. And I think we've done this year. We brought in the raffle baskets. We're bringing more stuff for the kids to do. We're doing shirt giveaways. Thor's going to be doing his best DJ impersonation.
Oh, God.
And the game is going to be streamed live on YouTube. So it's a lot of plus is going to be coming out of this, even with the rain. One of the big things I wanted to shout out to, though, was I've been saying this for a while now, Brandon McNulty. He's probably got about 30 raffle baskets alone by himself. He says every morning he wakes up and there's a new basket on his porch. And he's been killing it with it. And he's also going to be the one running those raffle baskets for all three games. So it's kudos to him. I'm very excited to see how this game works, and I'm more excited for Danny. Danny's going to be our on-field correspondent, asking the interviews. He's going to be interviewing somebody from both teams before the game. He's going to interview one coach before halftime, the second coach at the end of halftime, and then he's going to be interviewing at the end of the games. So the thing about Danny is Danny wants to be a broadcaster. He wants to be on the NFL Network on ESPN. So what a great thing for us to bring him in and give him that experience so he could do what he needs to do to be able to get on that stuff. Thor got the passes for the games.
Here we go. There's many more than that.
We also got the refs their own shirts this year. A lot of the refs are going to have the GEFA hats like I have on right now. So we're getting to that point where we're starting to look more professional, more organized, and more like a league. So if you're wanting to see what 20 years of the GEFA looks like, come on out, see the games, have fun, eat food, try to get some raffles. I mean, there's a lot of day trips on there between 4 tickets to the Penguins, Reptile Land, Lake Tobias Safari, the Hershey Sports Adventure, the Turkey Hill Experience. There's a lot of stuff there to be able to be won.
I plan on hitting all 3 of those food trucks.
I'm sure you are. You'll be our resident GEFA taste tester, and we'll rate them at the end of the. So we got anything else before we go?
Are we gonna pick them?
Yeah, we can pick them.
That's probably what people were most curious about.
I mean, I just figured we would pick them because we normally pick them.
Yeah. And then also, we got our linear championship belt. That's in. Tavares is going to be showing that off. Let me get that up for the camera more.
Good luck getting that back from him.
Well, I'll be seeing him when he goes to MOVA or the Warriors the week after, so he won't get too far.
Yeah, those belts are awesome.
And we also got the medals for the GEFA games. They're in, but we'll talk about those later. I just wanted to show them off because I thought they were really cool. So let's get into the first game. Miners Titans. What do you guys got?
Go ahead, bro.
Well, I mean, I definitely got the Miners only because you guys know from experience that I don't like first year teams. So I definitely got the Miners. Also, I caught some word through the grapevine that the Titans coach thinks that he's was going to come in and just drop like 100 points on them. So I think the Miners are going to be motivated for this one. And, I just think they're going to come in and handle business. I think they're going to come out. They're going to look a lot stronger than they did last year and just play solid football against, a first-year team just learning their way and get that baptism in. I got the Miners winning 34-12.
Thor?
Um, I'm really rooting for the Titans to come in and be a really solid first year team. But on the other side, it's exciting to see these new teams put in work and try to improve year to year. And I really feel like the Miners have put in a lot of work this offseason. I'm picking, I think that the Miners will win this game. I'm going 28-16.
Yeah, that's not a good pick. That's not a bad pick. Uh, I'm on the fence with it. I think the Miners are going to win. I just think the first game jitters and inexperience of being in this league are just going to come back to bite the Titans in the ass. I don't really have a score. I'm going to say maybe 48-26 Miners. I just think it's going to come down to the Miners just having that more experience than the Titans in this one, and it's going to show. All right, next game, Buffalo's Raptors.
All right, Brent, I had you go first on the last one. I'll go ahead and take the lead. We'll let James take the lead on the next one. Man, I really believe that the Raptors have created a bit of a culture change. Just in my communication with the owners and us getting to see them on the sideline during a scrimmage this year, it just seems like things are a lot different there. But at the same time, I don't know if they quite have the pieces to shut down that Buffalo offense yet. I'm going to pick the Buffaloes here. I'm going to say 44-24.
Like it. I like it. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm taking the Buffaloes as well. I just think they're, at this point in time, I think they're a more prepared football team. They're just, they've kept all their guys on their team for the last couple of years. They've added some key components to this offseason. They talked about Levi Hockenberry on the podcast episode, anchoring the other side of their D line from their other stud defensive end that they have. And, they kind of trampled the Raptors last year. I expect a better game. I just, I'm not 100% sure that they put it all together yet. And, it's tough getting prepared for that run game that's going to punch you in the mouth repeatedly for 4 quarters. So I got the Buffaloes winning 48-32.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I don't. I think the Buffaloes are going to win it. I think it's going to be a lot closer than everyone kind of thinks it's going to be. I mean, there's a lot of people that think it's just going to be Buffalo's dominance. Yeah, I'm going to say 30-26.
I wouldn't say dominant, so to speak. I just,
Well, pretty much like the
feel
same
the
of
Raptors,
last year.
I think they're a much better team than they were last year, or at least, that's the vibe that I get from, people that I've talked to and things that I've heard. So, I definitely think they'll be a much better team. I just think that the Buffaloes at this point in time are, a much better team, so to speak. You know what I mean? They're just more prepared. Like I said, they've kept their core guys around. They're basically doing the same shit that they've been doing. You know what I mean? They've adapted a little bit more during the all season, which could make them even more dangerous. So, I just feel like at this point in time they're the better football team. Now, that's up to the Raptors to go out there and prove differently and say, nah, y'all got it wrong. We know we got our asses waxed last year, but we're a much different football team this year. But until that happens, got to say the Buff got this one. Should be a good game, though. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be in attendance.
All right, let's get into the last game. Now, Wildcats Warriors. My kid's really excited about this one. He can't wait to go and see this one. Plus, it'll be his ball boy debut for the Warriors. So he's excited about that one. I'm going to go with the same score as last season. I think it was 32-26. But I'm going to say Wildcats win it.
You want me to go, Thor? I'll go. It's okay. You can wait. You can marinate on that one for a minute. I mean, I fully expect this game to be a slugfest. We talked about it earlier that this is two playoff teams, two perennial playoff teams, two teams that have aspirations of being in the championship and winning the championship. So I would expect that they're both going into this game like this is our chance to showcase to the league in a big game situation on a big stage that we're not to be fucked around with this year. We're coming for blood. We're coming for your soul, and we're going to shit stomp everybody in our path. Obviously, I think we discussed, each team has some things that I think we're kind of questioning a little bit, or maybe just kind of like wanting to see how it's going to play out. And, I think coaching is going to come down to this one big time. And, I mean, it's kind of hard to go against guys like Ron Kerr. So I got Williamsport winning this one in a shootout. That's going to be a dogfight. I'm going to say 58-56.
I'm not all that far off. I don't know. I just feel like the strength of the Warriors defense right now is likely to be their secondary. We know that the Wildcats have a ton of weapons. I do think the Wildcats come out on top on this one, and my score is pretty close to yours. I think it's going to be 55-48. The Warriors quarterback is a hell of a football player, and I think he's going to make a lot of plays. So 55-48, that's my pick. Okay.
I think the biggest thing for me in this matchup is what happens when you're facing adversity. And I know it sounds good when we talk about it and we're like, oh, we got a bunch of leaders on our team and, we'll be able to handle those situations. But until you're in that situation, you don't know if you're going to be able to handle it. And when you only got one coach minding the whole system and trying to keep everybody's mind frame right and in the moment, that's a tough order to ask, especially against a team that's stacked like Williamsport is. I mean, yeah, we all know that Williamsport still has to go out there and put it together, but they completely have a lot of talent to do it with. And if Ron Kerr is one of their coaches, like it's hard to go against a guy that's got multiple championships on different levels of football, who knows pretty much everything there is to know about football. You know what I mean? Like it's just tough to go against somebody with that mentality. So, it's not a knock on Wilkes-Barre, and it's like I said, it's their chance to prove to everybody that we don't know what the hell we're talking about, and they're going to go out there and do their thing. But like I said, just I think my big thing is knowing the level that this game is going to be played at, and the emotions that are going to be running through this game. What happens if you get punched in the face? Can you handle that moment? Because you haven't handled it in the past. Now you have less staff, less guys to be able to control that situation than you have before. I'm just, I'm a little concerned about that. I think that's my big concern with them. I don't think they lack the talent to win this game by any stretch. I think they absolutely have the talent to be able to win this game. I mean, they proved it last year when they won this game, but this one's not in Wilkes-Barre. So, I look forward to seeing how this game plays out. This is definitely one of those, this is one of those game of the year type games right out of the gate. It has that potential.
Yeah, I'd agree there. I mean, to be able to say like this is what the GEFA is about, like I can't wait to see it. It's all right, so you ready to get off?
Yeah, man. I'm just excited for the season to kick off tomorrow, and everybody that's playing, fucking play hard, play smart, play safe. Don't do nothing stupid, please. Let's avoid the stupidity shit. Just keep it football, as the president says, and let's
Times.
let's show out. Let's show out. Like it's gonna be streamed. You know what I mean? This thing's been pumped up for the last couple months. Like it's a big deal. Don't go out there and shit the bed, so to speak. Like let's go out there, let's ball out, let's keep our head and our ass wired together, and let's have a hell of a time. And let's put on a show.
Yeah, it's a great venue. I just suggest everybody make sure you dress appropriately, come ready to check out some great gift baskets, hit up them food trucks, and enjoy some football.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm even more excited for it to be over with. So it's time's ticking with it. So it's I could stop stressing out over this classic and just be done with it, hopefully. Without incident. Also, before I get off here, we're going to don't forget the Edwin Hernandez Offensive MVP Award and the Scott Schaefer Defensive MVP Award that we're going to be giving out at the end of the Classic. We're going to have a couple people involved that's going to be doing the judging on who's most deserving between all three games. So it's then again another thing that we've never done before. So it's going to be interesting. So let's have fun with this. All right. As from all of us, we're out of here. We will see you all tomorrow at the Rob Marrero Memorial Kickoff Classic.
Later.
Later.